Lane 1 at a high 48 strokes per minute, so really aggressive from the third Varsity here in the Warren Helgerson. In Lane 1, taking that lead early on with Lane 3, the Huskies freshman at a 45, and Oregon State dropping maybe a seat or two, 3 seats off of the freshman, half a length now to the 3V with the Washington State boat just a little bit further behind them. Bees are at a 41, and all boats are going to stride out here in the next 5 or so strokes. But great racing. Looking across right now, we got maybe the 3V with a deck length lead here as they make their shift down to the race pace. So the Husky freshmen are up to an 8-seat lead over the Oregon State freshmen, and Lane 1 is shifted out to a 41, a little sub-settle before they get into the body of the piece here. So it looks like the Huskies in Lane 1 are taking the lead over Lane 3, the freshman, and the Oregon State boat is still hanging around just a little behind. Not quite. The Husky freshmen have not quite got the open water lead over Oregon State. 500 meters in, it's the Washington 3V, and the Bees are at a 35 and a half, and we're going to go over to Dwight for the middle 500 here.
Thank you, Steve. Boy, I tell you nailed it a couple of weeks ago, or last week we had the Grunties, as we call them, the freshmen versus our 3V, and it was a battle to the wire, and it doesn't look like today is going to be any different. The 3V is looking over at those Grunties, and it's what makes this squad at Washington so phenomenal is the depth that they've got. That first Frosh boat that we're zooming in on right now, boy, they are pushing that 3V all the way down, and that Coxswain is doing whatever he can to close that gap on the 3V. We have the Oregon State crew with a little bit of open water behind the 2 Washington crews, but they're looking quite good as well. So here we go, a battle in this middle 1,000 meters between the Washington 3V and the Grunties. They're barely a deck length separating these 2 crews. Water conditions are as good as they get. They're both in their mid-course pace. You can see them reaching out. And there we go. We're passing the 1,000-meter mark with it's anybody's boat race. So let's see if these race plans now unfold with a different thing going into this third 500. Back to you, Steve.
Okay, yeah, it has turned into quite the battle here between the 3V and the freshmen. So Lane 1, the 3V at a 39. These guys really want it. And the freshmen have just stayed a little bit lower, and maybe that's going to pay off for the freshmen as they get up and past the navigation buoys and get into the cut. The freshmen are at 36 and a half right now. So we have a bow ball to bow ball race between the 2 Washington boats, with the freshmen just edging it out as we enter the cut here, with Oregon State hanging just about a length and a half of open water behind here. Really doing a pretty good job of staying with the lead Husky crews, with Washington State trailing the Bees by a couple lengths of open water. So we have the Huskies side by side here, Lane 1 and Lane 3, really shooting right down the center of the cut course. Both boats rowing high, but keeping good length, good quickness, really turning it up and pressing as they reach for that final 500 meters here. So with 500 meters to go, Dwight, let's have you take it away.
Grunny boat in Lane 3 has pulled ahead of that 3V. And they're not going to relinquish that. They're not going to try anyway. So it's 3V now pushing the Grunnies as we get approaching the Montlake Bridge. You just got to love this kind of competition within the squad here at Washington. The ratings have come up. You can see the crews now inching that stroke rating up, because this is a race to sprint. This isn't like the last 4 race where we kept the rates down. And there's that Oregon State crew. They're closing in as well. So we're approaching the final niche of this race, and we'll pan up here shortly to see how these 2 lead Washington boats can do whatever they can do to get their bow in front of their opponent, their other Washington opponent, that is, to see who can cross the finish line first. Rating of that lead Washington crew is 40 plus as we now approach the final 35 strokes of the race. What a battle. It doesn't get any better. What a battle. Let's give them a good hand as we approach these last 20 strokes.
Come on, come on.
All right, it looks like the 3V has got their bow out in front, but it's anybody's race. And watch the flag. There we go, down, up. It was, call it what you will, but maybe a photo finish. Those crews crossed at virtually the same time. And here we have Oregon State coming up, doing a very strong finish as they approach the finish line. Kudos to Oregon State as they cross. And here we have the Cougars coming up. They're putting it all together for their final sprint. Coxswain's calling for, you can do it, push it, push it, push it. Cougars are coming up on their last 10 strokes. And there we have it, Washington State crossing in 4th position. So we'll have these exciting finish times coming up. I got to tell you, I'm watching the monitor, I couldn't tell. And we're going to a commercial, so stay tuned.